everybody. Welcome to Morning Coffee. It's your girl Tammy coming at you with an encouraging word. We're just going to hop right back in. Happy Monday. Welcome to a brand new week. If you're joining us for the first time, we have been journeying through the book of Ruth, and we are actually on our last chapter today, and we're actually going to finish up today on this study. I hope that you have been able to glean something out of this and just get some deeper truths and some deeper nuggets as we have been going through it. So we're just going to hop right in. We are starting at Ruth chapter 4, and on Friday, if you remember, we had stopped at verse 6 in chapter 4, and we had just left off where Boaz had gone to the closer redeemer, kinsman redeemer, to see if he would redeem Ruth and Naomi and all the land. And he said no, he couldn't do it because he didn't want to risk damaging his estate. So he said, nope, I can't do it. You go ahead and do it. So we're going to pick up there starting at verse 7 and just go ahead and read through 7 all the way to verse 22. It says, now in early times in Israel, for the redemption and transfer of property to become final, one party took off his sandal and gave it to the other. This was the method of legalizing transactions in Israel. So the kinsman redeemer said to Boaz, buy it yourself. And he removed his sandal. Then Boaz announced to the elders and all of the people, today you are witnesses that I have bought from Naomi all the property of Elimelech, Kilion, and Mahlon. That's the husband and the 2 sons. I have also acquired Ruth the Moabitess, Mahlon's widow, as my wife in order to maintain the name of the dead with his property, so that his name will not disappear from among his family or from the town record. Today you are our witnesses. So remember, like we said a few days ago, that it was in the culture of this time that if your husband were to die, that next redeemer, that kinsman redeemer, that closest relative, male relative, would come in and buy the land and have everything that go along with that, the wife, the children, everything, and they would bear more children so that the name would continue. Well, let's keep reading. In verse 11, then it says, then the elders and all those at the gate said, we are witnesses. May the Lord make the woman who is coming into your home like Rachel and Leah, who together built up the house of Israel. May you have standing in Ephraim and be famous in Bethlehem. Through the offspring the Lord gives you by this young woman, may you be like that of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah. Verse 13, so Boaz took Ruth, she became his wife. Then he went to her, and the Lord enabled her to conceive, and she gave birth to a son. The women said to Naomi, praise be to the Lord, who this day has not left you without a kinsman redeemer. May he become famous throughout Israel. He will renew your life and sustain you in your old age. For your daughter-in-law, who loves you and who is better to you than 7 sons, has given birth to him. Then Naomi took the child, laid him in her lap, and cared for him. The woman living there said, Naomi has a son, and they named him Obed. He was the father of Jesse, the father of David. Then this is the family line of Perez. Perez was the father of Hezron. Hezron was the father of Ram. Ram, the father of Amminadab. Amminadab, the father of Nahshon. Nahshon, the father of Salmon. Salmon, the father of Boaz. Boaz, the father of Obed. Obed, the father of Jesse. And Jesse, the father of David. So I know that was all a lot right there, but just to kind of sum up this last chapter, you have Ruth, who has now been redeemed by Boaz. Boaz has come to act as the kinsman redeemer. He takes on the land, he takes on Naomi, he takes Ruth, and he begins to start a family with her to keep the name going. Now for Ruth, we can get a few points out of here, because one, we have Ruth who basically has come in, been redeemed by the Lord, found favor, and now here she is. She's married, she's having children, and she's living this blessed life since she has given her life to God. But we have Naomi still. We can't forget her. Now, Naomi had lost her husband and lost her 2 sons, and here she is actually coming back to God. She started off in Bethlehem. She started off with God, had kind of wandered away. Now she's coming back in, and God is redeeming her. God has given her another son, per se, to take care of and to kind of cover for the loss that she felt while she was in Moab. And God didn't forget her. He didn't forget about the pain that she went through. He didn't forget about her loss. And now she's actually being redeemed through this grandson. And they're actually in the line of David. So I just want to encourage you today as we finish up through this book. There's so many nuggets that we kind of pulled from as we were going through the book of Ruth. So one, we know that sometimes we may get off track. Sometimes we may be starting off in the land of Bethlehem, or, starting off strong with God. And then as life happens, and as things and events come about, we may turn away, or maybe we find ourselves way over here in Moab, not really sure quite how we got there. But then we turn and we come back to God. And when we come back to God, He brings that redemption. He brings you right back into the fold and covers you. He becomes your covering. He becomes your protection again. Or you can look at it another way and say, okay, well, maybe I was Ruth in this picture and I didn't even know God at all. And here I am living in the world, living without God. But now I am coming in and I'm giving my life to Christ. And in that, that's not to say you'll never have trouble in life, but now you have a covering. Now you have a redeemer. Now you have Jesus, and you have access to favor. You have access to blessings. You have access to protection now that you are under the coverage of the Lord Almighty. So you can look at both of those. Some other things we can glean from this is, hey, Ruth comes in, she's working hard. She's working in the field. She's going about and she's doing what she needs to do. She's respecting her mother-in-law. Here she has lost her husband and she's in this place that she doesn't know, but she's making the best of it, and maybe that is some of you today. Maybe you can relate in that way and say, you know what, sometimes I feel like Ruth, I don't have everything together. I'm in this place. I don't know anybody. I'm, feel like I'm starting fresh, but I'm just going to keep pillaging. I'm just going to do what I know to do. And as you do what you know to do, God will guide you and lead you to that Boaz field. He's going to lead you and guide you into your destiny, just like He did for Ruth. And she thought she was just going to work. She thought she was just caring for her mother-in-law. And little did she know, God had already set her up that she would end up in the field of Boaz, and that Boaz would be her redeemer, and that then she would come and be in the line of Jesus. Who would have thought? But it all started with a decision to just keep pillaging along, just keep moving forward and doing what you know to do, and allow God to be your guide and allow Him to be your redeemer. So I hope that you have enjoyed this, breakdown and study of Ruth. We'll be picking up on Wednesday, and we'll be starting a new study, a new journey. But stick with me. If you have any comments or any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And like always, you can always place some questions down there, or things that you want to discuss, or maybe books in the Bible that you want a more in-depth teaching on. Feel free to put them in the comments below as well, and we will be sure to cover them in 2023. So be blessed today, and we'll talk soon.